Good evening. This is CBC Windsor News live at 6, and I'm Jason Vio. Thanks for joining us. Here's what's making news tonight. Some local tennis players aren't happy with how they're being served. More of those areas are being converted into pickleball courts. And what do planes and electronic dance music have in common? We'll tell you what's planned inside the Canadian Aviation Museum coming up. Plus, the government of Ontario wants to allow online gamblers to play with non-Canadians. But first, they need to find out if it's legal. The sport of pickleball continues to grow in popularity, and local municipalities can't build courts fast enough. Now in LaSalle, pickleball is encroaching on tennis territory. Jennifer LaGrassa now on the clash of the courts.
Just a few weeks ago, these courts here in LaSalle were for tennis. But as of today, they're officially for pickleball players. And it's a change that many are happy about.
Our members are just ecstatic that we have more places to play, and we can even have tournaments now, so it's going to be fun.
LaSalle now has 8 tennis courts and 11 pickleball ones. The town hopes that these additional spots will satisfy the area's growing appetite for the sport.
Over the last 5 years, as you were mentioning, it's exploded. And so now all of the municipalities, I think, are trying to catch up and build facilities to meet that demand and give the residents what they want.
The spots on Front Road are just temporary, but the town says it's planning to look at more permanent options. And even those who play tennis see the investment in pickleball as a good thing. Do you ever worry that pickleball will just push out tennis courts completely?
No. These courts are underused. Pickleball is a growing sport. It brings pleasure to an awful lot of people.
Yes, you'll get a select few that complain about the tennis courts being changed into pickleball courts, but in general, most people don't complain. They want to try out pickleball.
With all this pickleball talk, I decided to break in the new courts and see what all the hype's about.
Because you don't want to hit them a high ball.
Oh, sorry, Mike! After almost hitting my cameraman a few times, I finally got the hang of it.
Keep it low. Don't pop it up. Nicely done.
Yes! And LaSalle isn't the only area rallying for pickleball. Windsor has added pickleball lines on top of some tennis courts so people can play either sport. And in Amherstburg, they're working on adding 8 pickleball courts to the Libro Center.
It brings the community together, and it brings all ages together. You can have a 60-year-old play with a 15-year-old or even a 10-year-old. Because it's so easy to pick up.
Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, LaSalle.
You'll hear quite a bit of noise coming from a historic aircraft hangar near Windsor's airport this weekend. And as Dawson Chen tells us, those sounds will have nothing to do with planes.
The hangar of the Canadian Aviation Museum on Airport Road dates back to the Second World War. But this Saturday, the museum's historic planes and exhibits will be accompanied by pulsing electronic beats and LED walls. It's a club-style event that's simply being called The Hangar. Just don't call it a rave. Organizers prefer to describe it as an EDM festival. That's electronic dance music.
It's a very unique experience. It's really cool to see. Last year, the planes were out along the tarmac for photo ops. And the bass was just driving. When you hear rave, you think of glow sticks and I don't know, music underneath an underpass or an abandoned building. But we try to keep it all proper and professional. We bring in the best production. The vibes are immaculate.
It's the second year for the event, which is fully licensed and includes food and beverage vendors. Co-organizers SOTC Productions have used other interesting locations for events, such as the pier on Windsor's riverfront. To transform the hangar into an EDM venue, SOTC Productions bring in their own high-end sound system, while Spacebarn's digital light displays provide the dramatic visuals. Cantagallo says last summer's party drew around 500 fans of techno and house music. This year's DJ lineup includes LA's Dylan Nathaniel and Toronto's Hunter. Local rave culture dates back to the 1990s. Richie Houghton's Life Fest on Windsor's riverfront in 2001 drew more than 4,000 people. But current Windsor EDM enthusiasts, who were too young to witness such things, still feel the scene is alive and well.
The people are great. Everyone is always positive. I have never seen any negative experiences at these raves. When I go to these things, I'm there for the music, and the people around me are just incredible.
Cantagallo is hopeful the event brings attention not only to Windsor's EDM community, but also to the Canadian Aviation Museum and its history. Dawson Chen, CBC News, Windsor.
The Ford government wants to allow people in this province to gamble online with players outside of Canada. But first, it needs to find out if that would be legal. And it's facing opposition from other parts of the country. Our senior reporter at Queen's Park, Mike Crawley, has that story.
Online poker is legal in Ontario so long as gamblers only play with other Ontarians. Online gambling companies say this makes the pots too small, and they want Ontario players to be allowed to bet with gamblers outside Canada.
That's the important part, is trying to give more options to consumers and better product offering.
Paul Burns leads the Canadian Gaming Association. It's the umbrella group for companies in the gambling industry.
You could see, I think, a significant increase in the poker business in the province because I've heard from a lot of poker players who say, it's hard to find proper games. The games I used to play, there's not enough people oftentimes when I want to play.
The companies say many Ontario poker players who want higher stakes games,
I see this flop and I think yes,
are skipping the provincially regulated sites in favor of international ones.
all the stats you need to make the right call.
Daily fantasy sports betting sites like DraftKings also want to see Ontario gamblers joining their global pools. The catch is, would this be legal? Premier Doug Ford's government wants to know. It's asking the province's top court for a ruling.
The issue is simply, does the criminal code allow Ontario to make that policy choice, or does it prohibit it?
The agencies that manage gambling in 7 other provinces are fighting the Ford government's plan. They claim that Ontario-registered sites routinely and brazenly allow people in the rest of Canada to gamble, and argue the proposed change would spur more of the same.
At any point, a player can go all in and bet everything in front of them.
Ontario is the only province that allows the private sector to offer online gambling. It's proving lucrative for both the companies and the government. Players wagered $63 billion last year with Ontario's licensed sites. After payouts, the companies involved earned $2.4 billion in revenue, and the province's take from the industry totaled nearly $800 million. If the court rules in favor of Ontario's plan, industry sources say those figures are bound to rise. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
The Detroit Zoo has just gotten a bit more ape-ealing. The zoo announced the birth of a baby gorilla, and it was born last Thursday and marks the first gorilla born at the zoo in its 96-year history. The gorilla's sex has yet to be determined, and it hasn't been given a name just yet either. The zoo says that once the mom and baby have had enough time to bond, the area will be reopened to visitors. Chris Potter joins us live now for a look at weather. Chris, is there anything ape-ealing about your weather forecast tonight?
Definitely, Jason. Appealing for most, even the apes. It looks like gorgeous weather stepping forward. Obviously, Windsor had a beautiful day today. Surrounding areas did as well. You escaped the active weather that a lot of other areas across the GTA, across the Kawarthas, into eastern Ontario saw, but we're not talking about steady, heavy rainfall. It was just kind of on and off showers. Normal daytime high for this time of year is around 27. Windsor, 26 degrees. It was a little bit cooler to start, though. Temperature started off around 13. This is going to be the trend in most areas for tonight as well. A little bit closer look, 21 right now in Goderich. Sarnie's at 23. One of the main reasons they're a little bit cooler, northwesterly winds coming in off of Lake Huron, but that's obviously not a huge factor. The winds are fairly light. That trend will continue tonight and into the day tomorrow. Generally clear. Once again, the showers well off towards the east. That will die down. It already is. We do have kind of a battle between low pressure moving off the St. Lawrence and then high pressure gradually moving in. And that should spell decent, beautiful weather. I say a run of sun, as I always do. And that's going to be the story over the next couple of days. But there's one caveat. Like the showers that we saw across the Golden Horseshoe, we're going to start to see some of the shower activity at least try to develop over Michigan and try to wander in towards Windsor. If this does happen, it should be brief, but it could be brief and heavy but once again, brief. This is not a washout afternoon, and it seems to be confined towards Windsor as opposed to areas to the east. As we step forward into the day on your Wednesday, similar story. Into Thursday, lots of sunshine to start. Then we'll get into increasing clouds. That's the next system trying to make its way in and make its wet weather presence known for Friday and into Saturday. Overnight lows a little bit cooler than average, but not too bad, 13 to 16 degrees. Winds will be calm, generally coming in from the north. They'll shift a little bit towards the east-southeast, and that will still be a light wind. Humidity levels rise just a bit to make it feel anywhere from 30 to 32, and once again, just a slight chance for a brief passing burst of showers sometime during the mid to late afternoon. In terms of the temperatures, we have highs around 26 to 27 for you on your Tuesday. Once again, chance of showers. It's going to feel closer to 31 in the Windsor area. 28 for you on Wednesday. Lots of sunshine. Once again, a little bit of cloud will try to move in for the afternoon, but it's still a bright, beautiful day to get out and enjoy. And if you don't get a chance, get out there Thursday as daytime highs climb towards 30, feeling like 33. Those overnight lows start to creep into the upper teens as well. For Friday, we'll cloud over in the Windsor area, and it does look like showers, if not periods of rain, the odd rumble of thunder. And at this point, it looks like it might continue into at least Saturday, primarily during the morning. So, Jason, like I said, not a bad looking forecast. It is, like I'm going to say that you made, healing.
Well, and Chris,
healing. I like that.
a run of sun. It's also quite catchy, and it's perfect weather to play cornhole. And I know we have some fans out in Amherstburg watching from a campground this evening, so shout out to them. But cornhole weather is always good weather.
It's good. I'm horrible at the game. I'm going to have to get out there and practice.
I'm getting better. All right, thanks, Chris.
You got it.
Well, still to come, extreme stress facing Ontario healthcare workers. We'll hear about a new study coming up right after the break. A new study paints a dire picture of the extreme stress afflicting many of Ontario's healthcare workers. The study's authors interviewed more than 24 workers, including nurses and personal support workers, and says their findings show if immediate action isn't taken, it could have a devastating impact on our already strained healthcare system. Tyler Cheese has the story.
We hardly have time to take breaks or go to the washroom. I don't think that patients are getting the care they need.
In a video played by the Ontario Council of Hospital Unions at this morning's news conference, healthcare workers speaking anonymously share what it's been like for them at work.
My job is killing me.
It's embarrassing to say I don't have the compassion that I used to have. I'm not at all the nurse I wanted to be.
The video accompanied a new study commissioned by the OCHU looking into the impacts of underfunding, understaffing, deregulation, and privatization on hospital workers. It's the fourth study the group has done examining the mental health and well-being of Ontario's healthcare workforce in the past 7 years.
Our interviews with hospital staff from across Ontario revealed a disturbing picture of their working conditions, their level of distress, and their frustrations over the care that they are trying to deliver.
The study's authors say many of the workers they interviewed suffer anxiety and depression, and several reported regularly crying before or after their shifts. Many also stress that this all leads to worse care for patients and makes them want to quit.
If they feel day in and day out that not only they cannot provide the type of care that they came to and they want to provide, but also they are stressed out, they're going to leave.
Ontario's health minister says the province is doing everything it can to support healthcare workers.
We have ensured by working with our hospital partners, making sure that they have access to the services that they need.
A statement from the minister's office also points to $743 million in the provincial budget dedicated to growing the workforce. And while those in the field appreciate that, they also say it's not enough.
We are asking the government to ensure that all of the health professions receive the attention and the investment, strong, large investments in funding.
She's also stressing the importance of all this happening within a public not-for-profit system and encouraging the province to move away from private healthcare models. Tyler Cheese, CBC News, Toronto.
It's been a decade since the death of Tina Fontaines. The body of the 15-year-old girl was found in Winnipeg's Red River in August 2014. Fontaines became a symbol of violence against Indigenous women and girls and was a catalyst for a national inquiry. Some want to see more action as they look for her legacy to live on. The CBC's Rosanna Hempel reports.
Everything in Thelma Favel's house reminds her of her grandniece, Tina Fontaines.
Everything, especially her room. That's where I feel so much closer to her.
The curtains in Favel's living room have been closed since the 15-year-old was killed in 2014. It stops her from looking to see if Tina is walking home.
She was so full of life, so happy.
In the last 10 years, Favel has lived through losing Tina and seeing her accused murderer be acquitted 4 years after her death.
These last 10 years have been so hard.
Favel and her friend will host a walk and feast on Saugeen and Anishinaabe Nation on Saturday in honor of all Indigenous people.
The shadows of the past are the light of tomorrow.
She'll also read a letter to Tina. August 17th is the day her body was pulled from the Red River in Winnipeg a decade ago. Her death became a catalyst for change, including the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls.
It's important for us as a government.
Manitoba's first First Nations women in cabinet say Tina left an impactful legacy.
People are getting involved and saying, we want to be a part of this, we want to be a part of the solution.
The majority of the national inquiry's calls for justice, though, have not been completed. And the Manitoba advocate for children and youth, Sherry Gott, says all of her office's recommendations on Tina's case also aren't done.
I continue to call on government to come up with a plan for youth, particularly response for youth that are experiencing crisis in mental health and addictions.
Bernadette Smith says the provincial government is focused on the gaps and where help is needed. Manitoba does expect to release its first MMIW G2S Plus strategy this fall.
Tina Fontaines' legacy literally has saved lives. That little girl has saved lives from coast to coast to coast.
Back in Saugeen, changes are also underway. The First Nation is developing a family law to take over jurisdiction of child and family services. Favel's friend Marilyn Courchain believes the law would have made a difference for Tina.
It is a foundation of something that had to happen, that needs to happen because of what had happened to this little girl. So the people have started saying, enough's enough, we need to do this. We need to protect our children.
I held on to her for 10 long, agonizing years because when she died, part of me died also. Now she wants me to let go.
She says her letter to Tina is her way of saying goodbye.
She'll never be forgotten, but it is time to let her go.
Favel hopes to open her curtains once again, but says Tina's legacy has to live on. Rosanna Hempel, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Residents of Jasper, Alberta will be allowed to go home Friday. 3 weeks ago, a wildfire forced thousands out of a national park and town site.
This reentry is not to be confused with rehabilitation. We have allowed reentry, and some will be able to go home, but for many, reentry will simply be an opportunity to assess either their business or their home or both.
A third of the structures in Jasper were destroyed in the fire. 5,000 people live in that town. Essential service has now been restored in that area, but residents are being told to not count on spending their first night at home. There are no restrictions on who is allowed in, but the mayor is asking any visitors to give residents time and space. Well, still to come here on CBC Windsor News Live at 6. Apparently walking backwards is becoming more popular. We'll tell you that story coming up next. Canadian Olympians are arriving home from Paris after winning a combined 27 medals across 15 sports. Swimmer Summer McIntosh, who won 3 gold medals and 1 silver, landed in Toronto. After weeks of competition, she said she's ready for some rest.
Such an honor that I was able to go back and be the flag bearer for Canada alongside Ethan, and I had a lot of fun doing so, and now to be back here, it's pretty awesome. I feel like now I can kind of take a deep breath and kind of relax and enjoy all of this. I would probably say being flag bearer was honestly amazing, but I wouldn't be able to do that without obviously the racing that I did. So favorite race-wise, I'd probably say was the Trinidad Fly, but overall it just was amazing games, and France did such a good job at hosting.
It may not be an Olympic sport, but walking has long been recognized as a worthwhile fitness activity. Now there's a new element starting to gain attention and popularity: walking backwards. The CBC's Megan Fitzpatrick has the story.
4 years after starting to walk in reverse, Julie Daniluk hasn't looked back.
I can now walk at least a few kilometers this way.
She started after a knee injury, and step by backward step, it helped her recovery.
I love backwards walking because it has truly rehabilitated my knees and my hip.
I highly recommend it. She shares her passion on social media, and she's not alone. Pretty girls walk like this. Word is spreading about the benefits of moving backwards. This personal trainer encourages his clients to give it a try.
I love it. I think it's amazing. But once you get used to it, you don't have to do it more than once, twice a week.
Several studies have compared forward walking versus retro walking, one drawing this conclusion: backward walking positively affected gait and balance ability after intervention.
It's been theorized that when you walk 100 steps backwards, it's more work than if you took 1,000 steps forward.
I'm still a big proponent. A good workout that targets specific muscles, according to experts.
Some of the evidence shows that walking backwards can help improve muscle strength, including muscles about the knee and the hip, improving balance. People walk faster after they've been training backwards.
Putting the toe down first instead of the heel eases pressure on the knee joint.
When he walks backwards, some of that shear force at the knee is reduced, and that can help people who have knee pain feel less pain.
Now I'm just walking backwards.
Beginners are advised to start out slowly on a treadmill or go outside with a partner.
So if you want to grasp my arm, okay, and you're going to start taking small steps backwards. Okay. Yeah, and you can trust that I have you.
This is so weird. I can't see where
I know,
I'm going.
right? La, la, la.
Retro walkers need to concentrate and rely on their other senses, and that gives the brain a workout too.
When you are doing this, what are your neighbors thinking? I've had a few people raise their eyebrows.
People with impaired balance or a history of falls may want to avoid this, but for those looking to spice up their exercise, backwards walking could be a new way to step out of their comfort zone. Megan Fitzpatrick, CBC News, Hamilton.
For art lovers, viewing the famous painting Starry Night means heading to a museum in New York. Now, Vincent van Gogh's masterpiece can also be seen in the rolling hills of central Bosnia. It features 130,000 lavender bushes and other herbs, which form colorful circles and spirals across 10,000 square meters. The idea came to a businessman 6 years ago when he noticed tractors had left spiral-shaped wheel tracks in a hay meadow. The pattern reminded him of the swirling motifs in Van Gogh's oil painting. Created in 1889, it's meant to depict the view from the artist's room at an asylum where he stayed following a nervous breakdown. Well, it's hard to outsmart a top predator in the wild or in a zoo. This is the hidden camera that zookeepers had recently placed in a lion enclosure in Portland, Oregon. It didn't stay hidden for long. Within days, the curious lions found the camera. It still ended up capturing a series of wild selfies, but who can blame the animals? We've all accidentally taken pictures while messing around with the settings. Well, that's it for us here at CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, head to our website, cbc.ca/Windsor. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a great evening, and we'll see you back here tomorrow night.